Right now, you're probably hearing the name Iran more than ever before. On the news, in headlines, in conversations you never expected to have. But here's the thing nobody is talking about. Behind every headline, there is a land that has outlasted every empire that ever tried to erase it. A civilization so ancient, so layered, so breathtakingly beautiful, that the modern world simply forgot to mention it. What you're about to see is not a news story. It's not politics. It's not conflict. It's something far more powerful than any of that. This is the story of a place that has been standing for 5,000 years and will be standing long after today's headlines are forgotten. This is Iran. Not the one you've been told about, the real one. Over 2,500 years ago, while much of the ancient world was still figuring out how to organize itself, one man stood up and changed everything. His name was Cyrus the Great, and what he built was not just an empire, it was an idea. From the shores of Greece to the valleys of India, from the sands of Egypt to the steppes of Central Asia, the Persian Empire stretched across 3 continents and ruled over millions of people from dozens of different cultures, religions, and languages. But here is what made Persia different from every other empire in history. Cyrus didn't rule through fear, he ruled through respect. When he conquered Babylon, he didn't burn it, he freed the slaves. He let people worship their own gods. He told his subjects, "You are not my prisoners, you are my people." This wasn't just compassion, it was wisdom. And the proof still exists today. The Cyrus cylinder, a small clay object discovered in the ruins of Babylon, is considered by historians to be one of the world's first declarations of human rights. Centuries before anyone else was even thinking about freedom, Persia had already written it in stone. And then there is Persepolis. Even in ruins, it takes your breath away. This was the ceremonial heart of the empire, a stage built not for war, but for wonder. Every year during Nowruz, the Persian New Year, ambassadors and dignitaries from every corner of the known world would travel to this place to pay tribute, not with fear in their hearts, but with gifts in their hands. Walk through its gates today, and you can still see them, carved into the stone walls, processions of people from 40 different nations, all walking in peace, all walking toward the same king. This was not conquest, this was civilization. Not far away, at a place called Pasargadae, stands the tomb of Cyrus himself. No golden statue, no towering monument, just a simple stone structure, open to the sky, quiet, humble, eternal. It is said that when Alexander the Great, who had conquered the known world himself, arrived at this tomb, he wept, because even in death, Cyrus the Great was more powerful than any living king. And at Naxcha-Rostam, carved directly into the face of a cliff, 4 royal tombs stand like eternal sentinels. Kings who once commanded armies of millions, now watching silently over a valley that has seen thousands of years pass beneath them. This is where Persia's story is written, not in books, not in museums, in stone, in silence, in the wind that still moves through these ruins like it always has. Most people who visit Tehran for the first time say the same thing. I had no idea it looked like this. Nestled at the foot of the Alborz Mountains, with snow-capped peaks rising behind its skyline, Tehran is a city of constant contradiction. 9 million people, thousands of years of history, and somehow, all of it coexists in one restless, electric, endlessly fascinating city. To the north, wealthy neighborhoods wind up into the mountains, where cafes serve espresso and young people discuss art, philosophy, and the future. To the south, the old city breathes with the weight of centuries. Narrow alleys, ancient mosques, the smell of saffron and rosewater drifting through the air. The Azadi Tower stands at the city's western gateway. Built in 1971, it is one of the most architecturally remarkable structures in the Middle East. Its design blends Sassanid arches, a style from ancient Persia, with Islamic geometry and something almost futuristic. It doesn't belong to any one era, it belongs to all of them. The Golestan Palace, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, tells the story of Iran's more recent past. Mirrored halls that catch the light like 1,000 suns, marble courtyards where kings once walked, gardens designed to feel like paradise itself. And then there is the Grand Bazaar, 200 hectares of covered markets, 10 kilometers of winding corridors, the smell of spices, the sound of bargaining, the color of silks and carpets piled ceiling high. It has been here for centuries, and on any given day, it is alive with the same energy it has always had. Tehran is not a city that fits neatly into any description. It is ancient and modern, chaotic and beautiful, familiar and completely unlike anywhere else on Earth. It is a city that asks you to look closer. And when you do, it never stops revealing itself. If someone showed you this landscape without telling you where it was, you would never guess. Northern Iran is one of the best-kept secrets in the entire world. The provinces of Gilan, Mazandaran, and the foothills of the Alborz Mountains receive more rainfall than most of Western Europe. The result is something extraordinary. Lush, dense, impossibly green forests that tumble down mountain slopes and disappear into the mist of the Caspian Sea. Rice paddies shimmer in the afternoon light. Tea plantations cascade down hillsides in perfect rows. Citrus orchards fill the air with a sweetness that doesn't feel real. This is Iran. The Hykarian forests, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, are among the oldest surviving forests on Earth. They have been here for more than 25 million years. Think about that for a moment. These trees were old before the pyramids were built. And within them lives a world that almost no one outside Iran has ever seen. The Persian leopard moves through this forest like a ghost, one of the rarest big cats on the planet, powerful, silent, almost mythical. Fewer than 1,000 are believed to survive in the wild, each one commanding a vast territory through these ancient mountains. To catch even a glimpse of one is considered, by those who study them, an extraordinary privilege. The Eurasian brown bear roams the higher elevations, solitary and immense, some weighing close to 600 pounds. They move through the cold mountain forests with a quiet authority that demands respect. Above them, the skies open into a corridor of migration unlike anywhere else in the world. Every year, thousands of birds, white storks, gray herons, flamingos, and cranes cross through northern Iran on journeys that span entire continents. And among them, the Siberian crane. Snow-white feathers, black-tipped wings, a wingspan that seems too wide to be real. It travels from Russia all the way to India, and northern Iran is one of the last places on Earth where it still feels safe enough to rest. Along the Caspian coast, seals float lazily in the shallow water, small, round-faced, and surprisingly gentle. The Caspian seal is found nowhere else on Earth. This sea is their entire world. Northern Iran is not just a place of beauty. It is a sanctuary, a living, breathing reminder of what the natural world looks like when it is left alone to find its own balance. As you move westward, the land begins to rise, and rise, and rise. The Zagros Mountains stretch for over 1,500 kilometers across western Iran, one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world. From the air, they look like the ridges of some ancient creature sleeping beneath the earth. Fold after fold of stone, shaped by millions of years of pressure and time. Up close, they are something else entirely. Dramatic, severe, achingly beautiful. In spring, the high meadows transform into something that looks almost impossible. Fields of wild poppies in deep crimson and burning orange, purple wildflowers pushing through the last patches of snow. Streams so cold and clear, they look like liquid glass running between the rocks. And then there are the people.
The Bakhtiari and Kashkai tribes have lived in these mountains for thousands of years. Twice a year, they move. In spring, they drive their herds upward, tens of thousands of sheep and goats following ancient paths into the high pastures. In autumn, they descend again, ahead of the winter snows. From the air, their black tents appear like small dark stars scattered across the immensity of the mountains. This is not tourism. This is not performance. This is a way of life that has not fundamentally changed in 1,000 years. Golden eagles ride the thermals high above the peaks, scanning the ground below with eyes that can spot movement from 2 miles away. At dusk, in the deeper valleys, the striped hyena emerges. Rarely seen, never forgotten. Its call echoes through the stone corridors of the mountain like something ancient and unnameable. The Zagros doesn't care about headlines or politics or the noise of the modern world. It was here before all of that, and it will be here long after.
There is an old Persian saying, "Isfahan is half the world." When you stand in the middle of Nakhche-Jahan Square, one of the largest public squares ever built in human history, you understand exactly what that means. It is vast, but it is not empty. Every surface, every arch, every tile is covered in a geometry so precise, so intricate, so endlessly detailed that the longer you look, the more you see. Blue and turquoise tiles that seem to shift color in the light. Calligraphy carved into stone with the patience of centuries. Arches that frame the sky like windows into another world. The Imam Mosque rises at the southern end of the square. Its dome, covered in tiles of deep blue and gold, is considered by architects and historians to be one of the greatest achievements in the history of Islamic art. Stand inside at midday and watch what happens to the light. It does not simply enter, it transforms. Scattered by the geometry of the dome, it fills the entire interior with a luminescence that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The Sheikh Lotfallah Mosque on the eastern side of the square has no minaret and no courtyard. It was built as a private mosque for the royal family, and its intimacy gives it a power that larger structures sometimes lack. Its interior dome is a masterpiece of geometric complexity, a sunburst pattern that spirals inward, drawing the eye toward a center that seems to pulse with quiet energy. And then the bridges. Isfahan's bridges over the Zayandeh River are not just structures for crossing water, they are places for living. In the evenings, families gather under their arches, musicians play, voices echo off the stone. The river catches the last light of the day and carries it downstream. This is what Isfahan does to people. It slows them down. It makes them look, really look. And what they find, more often than not, is something they did not expect to find. Something that feels unmistakably like beauty.
An hour south of Isfahan, the landscape begins to change. The greens fade, the air dries, the colors shift into the warm, ancient tones of sand and ochre and sun-baked earth. You are at the edge of Iran's great central desert. And here, in a city called Kashan, you find something extraordinary. People who didn't just survive the desert, people who made it magnificent. The historic houses of Kashan are architectural masterpieces. From the outside, they appear modest. Mud brick walls the same color as the ground they rise from. Simple doorways, almost nothing to suggest what lies within. But step through one of those doorways and the world changes completely. Courtyards open up around central pools that reflect the sky. Wind towers, called badgirs, rise above the rooftops, catching the slightest breeze and channeling it down into the rooms below, cooling them without a single piece of modern technology. The Tabatabai house is perhaps the finest example. Its stucco carvings, stained glass windows, and soaring internal arches represent centuries of refined Persian craftsmanship. It was designed not just to be beautiful, but to be livable, to work with the desert, not against it. This is the Persian architectural philosophy in its purest form: harmony with nature, intelligence disguised as elegance. The Fin Garden nearby is one of the oldest surviving Persian gardens in Iran. Water flows through stone channels lined with cypress trees. The sound of it is the most soothing thing imaginable in this heat. And then, tucked against a hillside not far from the city, the village of Abyaneh. Red clay houses that seem to grow directly from the mountain they cling to. Narrow, winding lanes, wooden doors worn smooth by 1,000 years of hands. Some of the people here still wear the same traditional clothing their ancestors wore centuries ago. Not for tourists, not for photographs, simply because it is who they are.
Further east, deeper into the desert, a city appears. Yazd. It has no business existing here. Surrounded on all sides by two of the most inhospitable deserts in Asia, the Dasht-e-Kavir and the Dasht-e-Lut, Yazd rises from the landscape like a defiance of logic. It has been continuously inhabited for over 3,000 years. 3,000 years in one of the hottest, driest places on Earth. And it is not just surviving, it is extraordinary. The skyline of Yazd is unlike anything else you will ever see. Wind catchers, badgirs, rise above almost every building. Some are massive, towering structures that look almost like abstract sculptures. But they are not art, they are engineering. Each one is designed to catch the prevailing wind, channel it downward through the building, and release cool air into the rooms below. No electricity, no machinery, just physics and geometry, and a deep understanding of how air moves. These towers were perfected here, in Yazd, over thousands of years. Yazd is also the spiritual center of Zoroastrianism, one of the oldest religions in human history. For over 3,000 years, the Zoroastrians have kept a sacred fire burning in this city, burning with interruption. Through invasions, through earthquakes, through the rise and fall of empires, the flame continues. On the hills surrounding the city stand the Towers of Silence, ancient circular structures where for millennia the Zoroastrians placed their dead to return to the earth. Standing at the base of these towers at sunset, with the desert stretching out in every direction and the sky turning from gold to deep red to purple, it is one of those experiences that changes something in you. You cannot quite explain it. You only know that you are standing somewhere very old, very sacred, and very real. Walking through the mud brick alleyways of Yazd's ancient center, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, feels like moving through a living museum. Except the people here are not exhibits, they are home. Yazd isn't trying to impress you, it simply exists, as it always has, quietly, defiantly, magnificently.
If Isfahan is the eye of Iran, Shiraz is its heart. This city in southern Iran has produced two of the greatest poets in the history of human language, Hafez and Saadi. Their words are not historical curiosities here, they are living parts of everyday life. Iranians quote Hafez the way others quote scripture. When they face a difficult decision, they open his book at random and read whatever page they find. They call it bibliomancy. They call it wisdom. They call it guidance from someone who understood the human heart better than almost anyone who has ever lived. Every evening, families gather at the tomb of Hafez, a graceful pavilion set in a garden of orange trees and roses, to sit, to read, to remember. It is one of the most quietly moving experiences available anywhere in the world. Shiraz is also a city of extraordinary gardens. The Aram Garden is a Persian paradise in the most literal sense of the word. The English word paradise, in fact, comes directly from the Old Persian word paradesa, meaning a walled garden. And standing inside the Aram Garden, surrounded by cypress trees and roses and the sound of water moving through stone channels, you understand completely why the ancient Persians chose this word for heaven. The Nasir al-Mulk Mosque,
known to many as the Pink Mosque, is perhaps the most photographed interior in all of Iran. Its stained glass windows facing east transform every morning into something miraculous. When the early light hits those windows, the entire floor of the mosque becomes a shifting carpet of color, pink and green and gold and deep blue, moving slowly across the tiles as the sun rises. People come from every corner of the world to see it, and still, every morning, it manages to feel like a private miracle. Just outside the city, the ruins of Persepolis rise from the plain in the golden afternoon light. The great ceremonial capital, the stage for an empire, now silent, now still, but not empty, never empty. There is something about Shiraz, in the scent of its orange blossoms in spring, in the poetry carved into its walls, in the way its light falls differently than anywhere else, that makes it feel like a place that holds memory differently than other cities, as if it knows something about time that the rest of the world has forgotten.
In the far northeast of Iran, the land opens into something different again. Tabriz, one of the oldest cities in the world, a place that has seen more of history than almost any other city on Earth. At various times, Tabriz has been the capital of the Persian Empire, the Mongol Ilkhanate, and the Safavid dynasty. It has been conquered, rebuilt, conquered again, and rebuilt again. And through all of it, it has kept its identity. The Grand Bazaar of Tabriz is the largest covered bazaar in the world, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, over 700 years old. Step inside and you are immediately swallowed by it. Vaulted brick ceilings stretching in every direction, the smell of leather and spices and dried fruit, the sound of 1,000 simultaneous conversations, merchants whose families have occupied the same stall for generations, craftsmen working at trades their great-great-grandparents taught them. This is not a museum of commerce. It is commerce itself, still alive, still breathing. Further into the northeast, the landscape changes dramatically. Mountain villages carved from volcanic rock, stone streets worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, houses built so close to the mountain that their rooftops become the streets of the next level up. The village of Kondovan is unlike anything else on Earth. Its inhabitants live in cone-shaped homes carved directly into ancient volcanic rock formations. Some of these homes have been continuously occupied for over 700 years. 700 years of people waking up, making breakfast, going about their lives in rooms carved from stone. The northeast of Iran is also a land of extraordinary cultural diversity. Azerbaijanis, Kurds, Persians, and Armenians have lived side by side here for centuries. Different languages, different traditions, different music, all of it woven together into something that is distinctly, unmistakably Iranian. This is the Iran that most travelers never reach, the Iran that reveals itself slowly, like mist lifting from a valley at first light, haunting, quiet, unforgettable.
Empires rise, headlines come and go, the noise of the world gets louder and louder and louder, and through all of it, Iran endures. It has been doing so for 5,000 years, through conquest and rebirth, through fire and flourishing, through every era that tried to define it or confine it or reduce it to a single story. What you have seen today is not everything Iran is. It is only a beginning, a first glimpse through a door that opens onto something vast and ancient and alive, a civilization that invented mathematics and astronomy and human rights, that gave the world its first garden, its first postal system, its first declaration of freedom, that produced Hafez and Rumi and Cyrus the Great, that built Persepolis and Isfahan and Yazd, that kept a sacred flame burning for 3,000 years. This place has known darkness, but it has always known how to find light again. maybe that's the real story of Iran. Not the one in the headlines, the one written in stone and fire and poetry. The one that will still be here long after the rest of the noise has faded. If this journey moved you, if it made you see something you didn't expect to see, leave a comment below, subscribe to True Globe, because the world is full of stories like this one, stories the headlines will never tell you, and we are just getting started.